I also feel it's very beneficial for anybody who's been through anything like this to just be able to let it out, and you realize that
not everybody has the same experience.
No, of course not.
Because the major reason for the testing and each individual personality and personality type, and they break everyone down by, within the people that were intuitive empaths, there were also you were broken down into different groups as to abilities and probable abilities and whatnot. So it was a lot bigger than a lot of people. They like, boom, my lab, boom, super soldier, boom, and I see that, and I kind of, it's kind of ridiculous to me in a way, a lot of it, but I kind of saw it as more of an adult later on. It was different for everyone else, and some people had a lot less traumatic experiences being my labs, and some people had, depending on how stubborn or what type of personalities they had a lot worse. And they would have, they'd have kids do stuff to each other, sexually, or beat each other up, or, violently, or
Did you see those that were doing that? Do you have visuals of who was in the room, who was there? Were these all?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I remember seeing people, the adults, standing around just observing, watching, filming, and taking notes, and the kids just looking constantly back for either approval or direction. They developed usually the females developed a relationship with the kids where the kids wanted approval from them to where they would do whatever they were told, because they wanted approval. If they didn't get approval from them, then in would come one of the more military-ish male figures that would subject them to one of the more negative things, to where they were on the other side of what was occurring.
Or were you sometimes alone, sometimes in groups and different scenarios?
The alone stuff was more, never totally alone.
No.
Usually it was like one-on-one with an adult or adults where you were training, a lot of meditation, altered states of consciousness, both chemically induced and then self-induced.
Do you think it was like LSD type?
Oh, that would definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely happened. There was definitely non-human.
Okay. So you do have.
Yeah, there was definitely non-human.
Can you describe what the beings look like? Was it more than one race, or?
Yeah, and I don't really like to. When I see people that are eager to talk about reptoids, reptilians, and these, I don't know why they don't look like mantises to me or whatever, but
Insectoids, I call them.
yeah, when people talk about them on the forums and stuff, and they sound like they want to know more, or all that. I don't even want to talk about them, visualize them, or anything. You bring them into your consciousness, you bring yourself into theirs.
Right.
So don't become a beacon. Don't set yourself up as a conscious beacon.
Right.
Because some people have this thing to where they think, well, I have this, I can become this beacon of strength around
or
me.
Knowledge
or some power. People get these self-inflated ego or esoteric ideas that they are special or have some strength or something or protection or whatever. and some people do have protection, but that's not something to go messing around with. And
Right. Well, you saw what they were involved in, and you've had direct experience with it, and, you know, I think what's the part of the thing that's happening kind of in a collective way is many people are having certain experiences, and they have a curiosity, and I guess you would say be very cautious of that curiosity,
Yeah.
and don't
What-
believe anything that you think you might be.
just remember what it did to the cat.
To the what?
The cat.
Curiosity that killed the cat, yeah, right, for sure.
Yeah,
And where does that statement come from? Well, that's another story. Yeah.
yeah. Not
So-
Schrodinger's cat, but
Yeah, not that one. No, so we have this, you know, I just, if you don't mind, I really feel the story we're telling, or the story you're telling, is more common than I think a lot of people are very aware of. And
Yeah.
I don't mean common in a way, but, I mean, I know part of the programming is to make the person that's involved in it feel special, chosen. Did you have that programming?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But the vast majority of the people that are involved are just programmed to forget.
Right.
The vast majority of the people out there, it's happened to, and they have no freaking idea.
Right. So we have layers and layers of programming.
Yeah.
Basically, sort of like where they've been categorized,
And all the-
tested, and then this one gets this, and this one gets this, and this one gets this
Yeah,
sort of
and
scenario.
there's so many different types and reasons. I mean, you know, there's people out there that say, you know, that are like, think this is the most ridiculous thing in the world, and this has happened to them multiple times. You know?
Probably some of the most adamant against it are the ones that are the most exposed to it, in a
Yeah,
way.
and some of them are programmed to be
Yeah,
against
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Huh.
Yeah, and they can't really get out of their own program. So, what do you, for your own assessment, because this is your own assessment of yourself, as you were going through this as a child, and then you went into teenage, and then you went into the military? Did you go into the military? Or were you being trained or tapped for that? Did you tell-
No, I was told that I could not go into the military. Told not to, and I didn't remember.
And that was by your family and
No.
No.
That was by the program,
by the program?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And all I ever wanted to do was go into the Navy like the rest of my family. And when I was 16 years old, I had a knee injury, and you see that huge scar. It's like a patchwork quilt.
I know.
And the Navy recruiters, because of my testing and all that, they were all over me. And my mom was totally against it. It was very bizarre. She was back in her room crying when the recruiter came to the house. She wouldn't come out. She was crying.
Was this already after she'd split up from your father?
Yeah.
Okay.
My stepdad was Navy.
Okay, so I'm just picking up here, just
Yeah.
for the record, that your mother was put through a lot of stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's heavily, yeah, and I feel for her a lot.
Yeah, I do too. But, you know, the Navy recruiters were all over it. They were ready to, I was ready, as soon as I graduated, I was going in. That was said and done,
Right.
in my
Like
mind,
officer training, did you
that's
have
what I was going. I
Yeah.
mean, that's,
academy, naval academy type stuff? Was it?
I was not in ROTC or anything
No.
like that in high school. I was kicked out of 7 junior highs and 2 high schools for fighting and stuff, so.
Was that part of your programming too?
It's more of just having a shitty life.
Okay, right, right.
And a martial arts background to where kids screwed with me, and I didn't have the people skills to talk. You know, someone would come up and poke me in the chest, and I would just throw them on the floor.
Okay.
That's all. I didn't know any other way. Anyway, I had a knee issue. I went in, got x-rays, MRI, and went in for routine orthoscopic surgery.
How old were you?
16 or 17,
Okay.
yeah. I think I was 17, actually, because it was after I got back from Haiti. They're on a church trip, working witness trip.
Okay.
That was a crazy thing.
I was just gonna
So,
say, Haiti is,
It's right at there right after their big Civil War thing. Anyway, I wake up and my leg's totally in an immobilizer, and everyone's standing around all sad, except for my mom. And they're like, "We're so sorry. You had 2 dead bones the size of nickels that fell from your femur into your knee and tore up all your cartilage, and they had to do a bone graft from your tibia, and you have 4 screws in there."
So they rebuilt the bone up above your knee?
Up on top. And they had to take almost basically all the cartilage out.
Wow.
And they said that the recruiter had been there earlier and all that, and my mom just could not wait to get out of them. And you're not going to be able to go into the Navy, I'm sorry. And I was just like, and after that, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life.
Right.
But it was, part of the thing was I was not supposed to go into the military anyway.
Right.
Because part of some of the stuff they do, you go off and you do for a while, and then there is age regression done, and then you're brought back to present time. They can manipulate all that, and they don't want you going into the military and having full recall and all that.
Right.
And
Were you trained early on as a remote viewer?
Oh, yeah.
You were given, from the very beginning?
oh yeah. I think,
So were you given targets even as a child, or?
yeah, and then you would find out what would happen to some of those targets in more of your kind of pre-teen, early teen years. And you would be, they would start learning who to start giving targets to and not, because some people would like protect certain targets, not give information on certain targets.
So you still had enough aspect, or some could maintain enough aspect of their own consciousness of
Yeah,
what was
because
happening.
you would know that you were targeting some individuals or small groups for termination.
Are you willing to talk about that?
But
I mean, I'm just also, I have spoken with others, so, I understand the devastation of it.
especially as a young,
No,
empathic.
it's shocking of how
empathic younger
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, I mean, this is just also